Hi, my name is Matt Kosterman. I'm a 56-year-old white guy living in Chicago, Illinois. For the first 50 plus years of my life, I didn't think I was allowed to be here. Not just here in Chicago, but here, on Earth, in a body. I suffered from depression for most of my life. I smoked my first joint at age 11 and had my first drink of Southern Comfort straight from the bottle at age 13. While the cannabis never really took hold as an addiction, I drank alcohol for the next 20 years, many times to excess. In 1998, I began psychotherapy, and in the year 2000, I started on antidepressants. I spent 12 years on them and 15 years in traditional talk therapy. Meanwhile, I built a successful business, became a father to 2 amazing girls, and rehabbed an old house in a nice suburb. I did all the things. In 2010, I went through divorce, foreclosure, and bankruptcy. Fun times. After much flailing about, I got my head on straight in 2015, only to begin experiencing severe chronic pelvic pain along with fibromyalgia. I spent nearly 3 years in the Western medical system trying desperately to heal. In 2018, out of money and out of patience, my healing journey really kicked into gear after my first magic mushroom trip. The years since have been an amazing and challenging ride. I've traversed the physical and not so physical worlds and been fortunate to work with many, many talented healers. As a result of all my efforts, I now find myself in a place of receiving, contentment, and prosperity, the likes of which had eluded me for most of my life. There's a man named Daryl Anka who channels a being called Bashar. Bashar describes the process of engaging with a healer, that of giving yourself what is essentially a permission slip to move towards wholeness, healing, and right relationship. This podcast is an effort to share some of what I've learned and introduce you to some of the people and ways that literally gave me what feels like my permission slip for existence. It's also an effort to continue to spread the word that the traditional Western medical system, while effective for a great many things, is not necessarily the be-all, end-all solution to every health problem, especially when the problem may be more spiritual than it is physical, as it was in my case. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoy it. Please like, subscribe, and do all the social media things that help spread the word. Share these links with people directly in your community. It is my sincere hope that you and others will benefit from my experiences. Hi, welcome back to The Permission Slip. This is Matt Kosterman, and I'm here today with Ben Goldberger, a man that I've known for, I think about 4 years now. And the part of me that wants to always know how I got connected with somebody is going crazy because I can't remember how we got connected.
Oh, that's good. And neither can I.
So it might have been a web search. So anyway, welcome, Ben. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'll go back and look afterwards because I want to know now. I'll find you
the first email that I sent. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Ben is a licensed psychotherapist, right? What are the initials?
So it's funny. I that's accurate, and some people need to know who come to me. But I'm a licensed clinical social worker.
That's the LCSW.
But I don't lead with the license because I don't know. And we'll get into this, but I'm sort of. It's like just enough of my background but I've sort of deinstitutionalized myself over the years, and especially the last year or so. But yes, I'm licensed and been practicing as a psychotherapist for 15 years.
Quite a while, yeah. And the way I know that I came to you was through breathwork, through one of your workshops, a Saturday workshop, and it was amazing. And so I'm here today to introduce people to you and you to people that might be listening, and talk about your origin story, how you came to do this work, and what kind of work you're doing, and all that kind of stuff. So with that, I guess I would just have you tell us how did you get to be an LCSW? What did you overcome? What was the wounded healer path, right? That we all
right. No, that's a good question, and actually it's part. It's the same sort of. It's one of the threads of the story of how I started doing breath work and started facilitating breath work. But there's so many different points to start. So I would say probably the journey for me began being lost in my would say late 20s, just really didn't have a really good sense of myself. I was lots of depression, anxiety.
And where did you're from Chicago area, right?
Yeah, born in Chicago,
Yeah.
grew up here, and central in Columbus, Ohio, some as well.
That's
But
right.
Chicago's home, North Side, Rogers Park, Hyde Park, some, and but yeah, Chicago
area.
Columbus. Yeah.
And then home life was idyllic, not idyllic.
Yeah, no, what like therapist worth their salt has had a real like perfect home life.
Right.
But no, I had there was a lot of turbulence early on. My parents split when I was 4. A lot of stress. I mean, I still have and kind of some of the trauma I've worked through in my life has been literally memories from that time, the fighting and
Okay.
the explosive anger stuff. And but I was 4, and when my parents split, my father got a job. He's a retired law professor, and my mother stayed in Chicago, and so he went to teach at Ohio State, and my mother stayed here. She remarried, and then got divorced a couple years after that. So lots and lots of turbulence in those like critical developmental stages for me. So yeah,
not surprising that in your 20s you didn't have a good sense of self.
Yeah. I mean, I was basically like raging against it in some way as soon as I hit like, I don't know, latency, like 8, 9, and then just careening, looking, searching. Think I went from like kind of extreme atheism in my teen years to discovering spirituality on my own terms, really through LSD and music. I was a raver in the 90s, and
I'm still bummed I skipped that whole thing.
yeah.
Like I was like, oh, those drugs will melt your brain. That stuff's no good. And I look back, and it would have been a hoot. But
Yeah, and it was something. It was like there was. I mean, this is not the whole story. I don't want to make it all about this, but there was something in the like expansion, and there was room for me to be serious about, without having any real structure to it, but just like going deep into these like big open states and exploring with music and my body, with dance, right?
yeah.
And it became this kind of like, it was like my church. Like every Saturday I would take LSD and go to a party, to go to an event, these big warehouse parties.
Shelter and all of the places.
Yeah, and just underground stuff, like not a venue, right? Because in the Midwest, there was a huge underground scene. So people would just go and there'd be warehouses and stuff, somebody bring a generator somewhere, you'd go, in the woods or wherever.
Yeah.
So, and it was just like this open format, open space, freedom to explore. And so suddenly new ideas I wanted to explore, I just, discovered Ram Dass around that time.
Oh, nice.
And got really connected with that. That just opened me up, like, oh, God is love, like that notion, where I had been rejecting any notion of any, atheism was like a safe home for me.
Sure.
Right. It was like, fuck the orthodoxy of whatever it was that I felt oppressed by.
Yeah.
So it was just all this, room to explore. There were no guides. There were no elders. There were there was no structure to it, but I kind of didn't want that either. I didn't trust adults.
Yeah. Even though you sort of were one, but without a prefrontal cortex.
Well, yeah, I was a child in a young man's body.
Right.
And that goes on for a while. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that in this world. You can be 20 or 50 and going through the same stuff. So anyway, yeah, that's sort of like the kind of the primordial goo that like some of this started in, but it was, and a lot of it, some of it became reference points for me moving forward that I came back to later as I started to like, figure out, more of like what I want to do, what I'm about, and led me to, eventually led me to breathwork. Like I can trace a line from all of that
into breathwork
to discovering Stan Groff, who was the guy, like the creator, along with his wife. She's now passed, but Christina Groff, they started holotropic breathwork. And so, but my interest in all of that, I can trace it directly back to that.
To the rave scene.
Yeah, because I started, then I discovered, well, there's people who are studying or exploring or writing about or doing breath work for these expanded states of consciousness. And so I eventually discovered Stan Groff. I can't remember the order, but it was around the time when I also discovered men's work, and was this kind of like, and which you're familiar with.
Yeah. We did in our previous conversation, we figured out that I just recently went through the Mankind Project. The new warrior training. Because I think somebody described me as a sommelier. I need to taste all the wines. So,
to have a little bit of
this. That one, and just so I could kind of cross reference. So I just did that about a month ago, and it's a fantastic program. So you discovered that, when was this, in your 20s, 30s?
I was 29. I think I was 29, and like I said, I'd done all the like kind of field research I could. I had a therapist. My therapist at the time introduced me. I said, I need some stuff to read. I want to like, how do I learn about what we're talking about? And he gave me this book, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover.
Okay.
Which is it's high enough level, like that it's sophisticated enough that it's not, I don't know. It's
like
really
it held
robust.
It held your attention. It wasn't.
It did,
yeah. But
it's also really accessible. And a lot of, if you go into Jung, like just straight into his writings, it's like a lifetime of trying to figure out what's going on here, because he's so deep, right. And a lot of it is hard to penetrate, to really grasp it. And so there's people who had done all this work and kind of boiled it down into this, like what they started calling neo-Jungian.
Okay.
And that book formed like a lot of the ideas that the Mankind Project kind of riffed off of to create the weekend.
That's their core kind of thing. And
exactly.
I find it very funny. I used to have a photo lab over on Fulton Market in the 2000s, early aughts, and I would drive by Mankind's headquarters building.
Yeah.
And there was something in me, and I had a therapist. I was on meds. I was super depressed and stuck, and there was like, that's interesting, but no, like there was this, I might have to talk about my feelings, or shit. Like it was almost like a force field pulling me and pushing me at the same time.
You feel the attraction, repulsion,
and now here we are 20 years later that I, finally got around to doing it. It was great. Yeah,
well, it was funny because I was like, I read that book and I was like, where is this? And I had to have it. And I think, I had my relationship with my father changed over the years. He actually did a lot of his own work, and we've since repaired, but it was really damaged. And so the elder, the masculine in my life was not available. I had
in your formative years.
I had my mother's father, my grandfather Marty Matthews, was really influential to me, and I could talk about him. Fascinating guy, and actually that was my introduction to Jung and archetypes, and
through him. So you had you had a male figure. It just wasn't all the time. It wasn't there all the time.
Not so often. But he was present.
But at this point, you're not a therapist yet.
No, not even close. And I was just missing that and looking for that. And so, like, I remember going in and I wanted to check out a men's circle, and And I was just like, yeah, just sign me up. Like, I was pretty desperate. I was really dealing with a stuck depressive state, smoking a lot of weed, and just kind of, spinning out. Like, I might have had an alcohol problem that I was, I don't drink now, but I was just kind of trying to numb it out.
Yeah.
And that really cracked me open, and in such a
the men's work. The group.
Yeah, and not just like we lance the wound and all the trauma comes out, and now what? But I really felt held by that, and a place to come back to.
This is after you did during the weekend.
The weekend, the initiatory weekend, and then after that, I had a group that I met with every week. And I had this amazing therapist. I'm still connected with. He's retired, but and he hadn't done that work, but he was really attuned to that, and he also held this elder kind of father energy that I'd been looking for, and so I'd go to my group. I think I went to group on Tuesday. And I go to therapy on Thursday. So we do like this.
Yeah.
And a lot of like, and a lot of what we call bioenergetic work. So it was like psychodrama, like get into your body.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you feel it? What's going on? Okay. And I could go every week and have this and you move right into these non-ordinary states of consciousness, these healing
through
states.
The bioenergetics.
Yeah.
The somatics.
Moving the body, and where's it located, and what does this remind you of from your childhood? And then getting a chance to try to re-script it with the guys in the room. Yeah. Just totally whoa. And there's no expert in the room. There's no pro. There's no psychologist.
That's what I found. It's all just laymen. It's all just dudes.
And there might be a psychologist in the house, but it's not his job to run things,
Right.
So that was just awesome. And I did that for a while. And the cool thing, and I want to tie this into the purpose of our conversation into breath work, is that I was really reading about Groff, and I was like, oh wow, there's this whole world of people doing this stuff. And I read about breath work, and then there was in the olden days when we had listservs and stuff. Right. And there was this robust listserv through the Mankind Project, and somebody put an ad for holotropic breathwork in Rockford. Now, you can throw a stone and you'll find a holotropic breathwork workshop anywhere. You go to San Francisco.
Right. Any other sort of coastal city.
Yeah, and also what they say about the West Coast is it was like they took a map and tilted it, and whatever wasn't nailed down wound up. No, but I love that.
Hold down again the West Coast. Yeah.
But the West, there's just so much adventurousness and all that's a diss, to some degree, and maybe there's some truth in that, but it's also maybe. We wish we had a piece of that.
They definitely tend to be ahead of the curve with all of this kind of holistic, spiritual.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so that was, and I even almost went to school out there just to kind of follow that. But anyway, so I had heard about it being out there, being in, or Naropa, or there was the Omega Institute in New York, and all this, but not like Chicago. And here's this guy in Rockford, and he's connected to the Mankind Project. So I was like, so sign me up for that. So I just started going to these.
And Rockford, for the geographic, for those that aren't from Chicago.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Rockford's about 90 minutes from Chicago, a little hour, 90 minutes.
And north. And Chicago is, very robust, diverse, and tends to be more liberal city. And Rockford is a very conservative kind of Rust Belt, and really post-industrial, kind of depressed. It's coming up more now, but like a lot of towns that
25
size,
years ago, it was a different story. Yeah,
you could see it just taking a massive hit after NAFTA. So anyway, so I started going out there, and I think for probably 8 years I was going to workshops on and off.
No shit, wow.
And and just I was looking for whatever, right? And then Eventually, he offered, James Frazier was the facilitator, and then offered a training.
Okay.
And I think he
And you're still not a therapist at this point in this 8 years, so you?
me no. When did that? So I went to school when I was for to be a therapist when I was 33.
Okay, so get
32.
yeah.
And so I want to say it was no. I actually at that point, once I was ready to start the breathwork training, I had been a therapist. I think I was 3 years into my work.
And I want to back up for those that are listening that might not know what breath work is, and just
Right.
define that, right?
So that's yeah, you're right.
Yeah, just because we know and we've done it. And
Thank you.
Yeah. So why don't you
Yeah.
just talk a little bit about what breath work? I mean, there's multiple styles, but what the essence of it?
Yeah, sure. So breath work is not. There's so much breath work out there. There's pranayama. There's Wim Hof has become pretty popular. I mentioned holotropic breath work,
Right.
and I think a lot of people learned about that either from Stan Grof, who's the originator of it, and also Michael Pollan's How to Change Your Mind.
Yeah, he did a trip.
A lot of he really spoke highly of it, and so people were like, "Oh, okay, let me pay attention to that." So the word holotropic means simply towards wholeness. Holo is wholeness, tropic towards wholeness.
Right.
So this form of breath work is done at the most basic level. It's a 1 full day workshop. It's a group workshop. Smaller, and the way I kind of cap it at 20 maximum. You might find bigger ones. I mean, you can find bigger ones, sure. But I like that kind of tightness of the group in the container. So the actual like breath work itself, the mechanism of it is it's deeper, faster breathing. So a lot of other forms of breath work are kind of they're very structured. You might breathe in and hold, count, release. In through a nostril, out through the other nostril.
Breathe in, then breathe out, and hold on the out, and then count.
Yeah.
I think Wim does some of that. Where
I've done Wim Hof once, so I'm not super versed in that.
I think it's holding on the out, but ultimately you're substantially changing the rhythm of your normal breathing.
Right,
and in order to,
it's much deeper,
much faster,
that's the
and longer.
Similarity, and
it's deeper, faster, longer. You're holding that
exactly, and to stay with that's the trick.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because of the physiological changes that your body undergoes.
Yeah,
in that, and it literally moves you into non-ordinary consciousness.
Yeah, and now, so I want to bookmark that term, non-ordinary, because that's a good one. But the breath work is it's set to music, and that's another key. Is there's not somebody telling you what to do when. So the lights are low, and
under the holotropic model, there's no, because I've done breath work where somebody is kind of
exactly
counting it out or guiding you, and this holotropic is you fire up the music and you breathe.
Exactly. And we do create a container. There's just around basic safety,
right,
confidentiality, but also there's a sense of creating what I refer to as a sacred space.
Sacred space. Intentions are stated by the
that
puts
too.
their intentions in,
and also an invitation to every person in the room to help co-create the container. So it's not just me sitting here like I'm the grand, whatever poobad, but doing this all this on my own. No, I don't, I'm going to anchor it for today. There's something bigger than all of us, and we're going to embody that as a group, and greater than the sum of our parts. So that's really, really important and we intentionally create that container and release it at the end of the day. And then there's a partner aspect of it too. So people pair up, there's a sitter and a breather. session 1, and then you switch roles after lunch in session 2.
Yeah, which is so great. It's nice and supportive. You know that there's somebody there to grab you. You can keep your eye mask on, because that's the other element of it, right? Is you go in, typically put an eye mask on to block out. You don't have to, but to block out.
Yeah, and the lights are low, so some people may choose not to. But you want the idea is for it to be a really internal experience.
But it's a great format, especially for people who are new to this, because you're supported. There's somebody there if you need water, if you need Kleenex, if you need a blanket, if you need energy, something, a hand on your foot, whatever you ask for.
Yeah, and to know that your choice, your agency is central. It's at the center. So nobody's jumping in and doing Reiki on me or moving things. I get to choose. I get to, maybe if somebody's really struggling, I'll say, would you like some support? But you're reminded over and over again that you are the decider.
Yeah, because ultimately you are the medicine.
And which is that's the name of my practice. We are medicine.
Yeah.
And you're the medicine, but we do it together, right? Just like that was my experience. I have my own medicine. I carry my own medicine, and I didn't uncover that and develop that without a whole ton of help. Which is also what's cool. This is what motivated your podcast. So that's the same notion. So there is this support there, and then within that, and it's just so important because we suffer from traumas of commission and traumas of omission. Either way, we had a disruption of our sense of agency, our sense of kind of our sovereign.
Most people alive on the planet today.
Most of us.
Argue. And so, and just to expound on, errors of commission and omission, like you either didn't get something that you need is an error of omission, or error of commission is something happened to you.
They're not like discrete. Let's say, but let's say somebody hit me.
You were abused.
That's a trauma of commission. A trauma of omission is I was left alone when I needed support.
Yeah.
I needed a hug. I needed someone.
Or I was 7 years old coming home to an empty house.
Right. Exactly.
That kind of thing, because I had working parents or whatever.
Yeah. That kind of stuff. So this places my agency at the center of it, but I'm not left out to dry. I'm right there with you. And so, and then what's cool is, like you said, the breath work moves us. It's very fast.
Very fast.
And my first time, I was like, this is not going to work. I read all about it. I was like, this sounds cool, but how am I going to lie down and breathe and listen to music and like something is actually going to happen?
Yeah.
I was very skeptical.
Yeah.
And you can probably guess, like from a background of like I was rooted in like I'm an atheist and F y'all and your stupid religion, your stupid spirituality. So like I still have that, like that's a little shadow of mine too. Like I'm like, and healthy. Like we want to be skeptical. You don't want to, but I was like, no way. And I laid down and I was like, oh yeah, deeper, faster breathing. And like I was off and running, and the music was great too. So that like really evoked a lot for me. But I didn't know what was going on in the room. I was so deep in my own process, and my body needed to move, and it kind of needed to shake maybe. And suddenly I felt my arm went over my head, and I didn't know why, but I just kind of went with it. And then I was crying, and then I saw this house that I recognized, but I never had been to in my life. And I don't know, all this stuff happened in this. And I was like, okay, so something's going on here, and I don't need, because I thought, okay, but you have to take something.
You need LSD.
You need LSD, or you need
mushroom,
psilocybin.
Psilocybin, yeah.
So that's how it works, and it's different for everybody.
And every time.
Right. So you've been to some breath works, and each one is unique. Even where things show up in my body is unique.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one I went to, I didn't have much happen somatically. I didn't have a lot of realizations, but I had an eye shade on and my eyes were closed, and I had an absolutely blinding light appear. Mm-hmm. As if somebody turned on the stadium lights inside my brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I guess the light is within.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, and you probably had a physical response too.
I didn't have much of that time. The last one that I did with you was a huge physical response. It was like there was nothing in the brain. It was my body
Yeah.
just wanted to boogie and shake and twist and do yoga, and I don't even know what all it was doing. I was just like, okay, you just go.
Yeah.
And it was about maybe 10 minutes of breathing to get to that state, and things start shaking and moving, and then I'm doing sit-ups, and then I don't know what all I was doing. It was nutty.
Yeah. And it is, as long as we stay physically like safe, we don't stand up and run around the room or whatever.
Right.
Like it's an invitation to just whatever the body needs to do. And how often do we give ourselves the room to just move the way we really need to move and let it be with whatever emotions are coming up, whatever things are coming up that I can't put a name to, and maybe that light I may never really have a name, nor do I need one, but the direct experience of that is really meaningful, and it's helping me,
especially as somebody who's aphantasic, which means I don't see any visions when I close my eyes. So I don't. You say a red fire hydrant, and I know what it looks like, but I don't see a picture of one.
That's a new word, aphantasic.
Okay. And so there are. I work with a therapist who's present to that, and so in her guidance, Renee, the one the reason I started this whole podcast, and she always uses the terms can when we're doing journeying, can you sense, feel, or imagine?
Yeah.
Right, because I for a long time would get hung up on somebody would say visualize this. Well, I don't see any. I don't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing there.
Okay. Well, that's good. Maybe that's the first question, because I do a lot of trauma therapy, and I also do EMDR and integrate some of these things, and I ask people to imagine or visualize, and never occurred to me to ask, can you? Yeah.
I just thought it was how everybody, it worked for everybody. And then I found the word somewhere or something, like, oh.
So as it happens, it's something, now there's a word for that, like a scientific word, but I speak to the range of experiences that people can have. So for me, it's really important for the breathwork space to be an invitation for everyone, wherever you're coming from, but also what kind of experience. So some people are going to have a very outward experience.
Right.
Some people will have a visual experience. Some people will be dancing with angels. Some people are going to be dancing with the devil, right?
Yeah.
So whatever that wild archetypal energy arises, and some people are going to be perfectly, and outside they're going to look like nothing's happening, maybe like they've fallen asleep. Maybe they're having an experience of a pervasive sense of calm, which is super powerful too.
To get that in your body, especially when you're not used to it. And the other point I want to make, that the reason that I like this modality, especially for people who don't have any experience with non-ordinary states of consciousness, is that unlike medicines, which I love, but unlike medicines, you can stop the experience by simply returning to normal breathing.
Yeah. I would say not
instantly.
You can't instantly flip back, but you want to slow things down. You are in charge of it.
You're in charge of it, as opposed to if you're an hour into a mushroom trip and it starts going sideways.
There's a certain amount of we're in this until we come through the other side.
Right. So it's really a lovely on-ramp, and can be completely transformational in its own right.
Yeah, right. And that's right. So it is, I can wade in. So the way I encourage people is I say, kind of lean in the beginning and really get into it. If there's discomfort, work through that. But also, if it's just too intense, you can back off. Likewise, if you find some plateaus where you don't need to continue doing this, which is basically the pace of the breathing, you can enjoy that plateau or explore in there, and then dip back in. Maybe the break is a long break. Maybe I've heard people say, I thought I was done, but then something in the music kind of engaged me and I went back in again. So the variety is so big. And also, like, one of the things that can happen for people, let's say if I'm been really jammed up and stuck, I'm struggling with anger or rage issues, I might just be pissed off
Yeah.
for 2 hours. And there are people, and I've been there myself, who that's what they need to work through. And that's as good a work. There's no better than like, oh, well, that person like went on was out in the savannah and they were like, a hawk or and that's marvelous, or they have these spiritual visions and whatnot. That's wonderful. But it's not better, you didn't have a more spiritual experience or a more healing experience because you saw things.
Yeah, there's no hierarchy of experience.
Yeah, there's no hierarchy. That's a good way to put it.
It's whatever you need. You're getting what you need in the moment.
Exactly. And and so those experiences are really important. And I think that just for people who just need to be right where they're at, or they're, it can also be uncomfortable doing it in a group setting. Yeah. And so, everybody's welcome, and all experiences are welcome. There's also a little, it's about 2 hours each session, and then there's a little artwork piece at the end that's done in a separate room, and it kind of gives you a chance to just whatever comes out after the breathing.
Yeah, to draw it with colored pencils, markers, whatever. You got all kinds of stuff there. Yeah.
And then we the whole day it runs like about 9 to 6 p.m.
Yeah,
roughly
8-9 hours. Yeah.
And then we circle up at the end and share a little bit, and then we intentionally release the container.
The container, yeah. And I mean, I've got ceremony in my blood somehow. I don't know where it came from, but I love that aspect of it, that there's ceremony, that there's community, and that you share. I mean, I remember going back to before I started doing this work, and that idea terrified me. And so for anybody who might be listening, that might be put off by that concept of you're in this group of strangers and you're you're sharing these things. It's a very healing way of being in community with people with similar intention.
Yeah,
to work through whatever they're stuck.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of group formats that maybe they have the potential to be unsafe. Whether they're meant to be a healing experience or what have you. So for me, there's a lot of emphasis on safety. I meet with people before the workshop over Zoom, so I have a conversation and kind of build in some familiarity and address those concerns. So that's always
you create a very safe container. I mean, I've been in ones that
Thank you.
I've been in ones that aren't, and then the system knows. So the other piece of that is if you do find yourself in some container with a group of people and you don't feel safe, it's okay. Like
Yeah.
you don't need to. Your system will know.
Yeah.
Trust it.
Yeah, exactly. And that the proof is in like you trust you if this is the right thing for you. If I meet with somebody and they're not sure, or that kind of protective part of themselves is really online, there's no pressure to do that. Some people will reach out, or I'll chat with them on the Zoom, and they'll wait like a year to come to workshop, and they'll, had somebody write to me, they said, I've been lurking for 2 years.
For 2 years.
And I finally decided to do this.
Yeah. It's kind of like me with the Mankind building, right?
Yeah.
7 years of driving by the thing every day,
Yeah, and we're ready when we're ready.
Ready when we're ready.
And I love that. And that's also because that, you can probably guess, hearing that what I needed was a safe place to kind of fall apart and come back together, that I finally found through the Mankind Project, and then in some other spaces after that. And so that's the kind of world I want to live in, is where people can have those kinds of spaces and those experiences and that kind of support. So, it's as important to me as it is to, the people in the room.
Like you said, you can have somebody who might scream for an hour. They might pound a pillow.
Right.
You might have another person who's just completely quiet and merging with the universe.
Right, right.
and everything in between.
And that's right. And so it's challenging too. There's something that I'm challenged by in a way that I like, in a group setting. And sometimes I just know, I'm not doing groups at this point in my life. Okay, I want individual attention. I want individual support. So I have
As a receiver of your own work, doing your own work
for
yourself.
myself. And some people are just flat out like, I'm not doing this in a group. And so I have started doing,
which is a great segue into what you've incorporated into your what was a traditional therapy practice.
Well, so even I would say like column A is the group breathwork workshops. Column B are like adjacent to that is individual breathwork. So some people I work with, it's just individual work, and it's one-on-one, or maybe there's somebody assisting me, like two people for one person, and then there's psychotherapy, which is like very much not like, I don't want to say it's not traditional, like I'm not completely off the map, but it is. A lot of people come to me through breath work, or people come looking to do trauma therapy, and then learn about breath work and then start doing both. So I really do try to integrate
the two. And does it look like breath work every week that they come to a session, or are you doing breath work and then, or is it different?
No. So, that's a request often. And I wish I haven't yet figured out a short form version of what I do. It's a deep dive, and we need time to kind of get ready, drop in, do some breath work, do some artwork, come out, teeny bit of processing, decompress. The shortest I've been able to squeeze that into without, and once you get into a breath work, trying to get out in 30 minutes is just, it's not really safe. And it's also just like, people are like, I'm just starting.
Right.
You can go through 2 hours of doing holotropic breath work, or, by the way, that's trademarked, and I don't say I'm a holotropic breathwork practitioner.
Right.
We should circle back to that.
Yeah.
But that's where it comes from.
Right. Neo-shamanic breathwork is your...
That's what my teacher, and now there's actually going to be a third iteration coming too, but that's TBD.
Okay.
But anyway,
but yeah, it's not a 50-minute session.
It's not. And there's Wim Hof, there's other kinds of breath work where you can kind of get in and get out. I don't know that you got as deep maybe as you wanted to, or you could with a longer session. So the shortest that I've been able to do it is like probably the full beginning to end is like 3 hours if we're really focused.
But more like 4, more like a half a day.
Yeah, I would say 3.5. If people are doing really complex work, like working through a lot of layers of trauma and attachment stuff and what have you, I mean, it could be 4.5 hours, could be 5 hours, to really get in there and do it. So for people who are coming to me and using breath work and EMDR and I do somatic stuff and relational kind of psychodynamically informed talk therapy. The breath work is like the thing they might do once a month. So I hold workshops every month,
right? And
they'll come to the workshop, and then we'll do the other parts when we meet.
Or they might come to you for a half day breathwork session once a month.
Exactly, right.
Or
we
once
might
a quarter
do that.
or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, just kind of whatever.
Yeah,
feels
I would tailor it.
Yeah, it's funny because when you said the layers, it brought me back to the. After I started doing this work, whenever that was, 15 years ago, and I got a new appreciation from the movie Shrek when he talks about it's layers like an onion, because I was of the Western model of like I'm gonna get there, like I'm gonna when I'm fixed, when I'm and it doesn't stop.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's
it's
like,
just there's always
once you
more.
accept that,
it's a much easier. Just accept that there's not an end.
I wish that for people. Like I have people I can think of right now who I'm either working with or who I have worked with, and they want so badly to. Well, I just want to like blow this thing out. It's like they've got like a clog in the drain and they just want to knock it out
Yeah.
and get back on with life. And it's usually because they can say, well, I have, some kind of like I have a discrete physical problem like sleep or breathing or something,
Physical
a
pain.
pain in their body. Well, I know then that there's this block and I can locate it in this blah, blah, blah part of my body or life. And I just want to blow it out. And the reality is, it's not that you can't, but
sometimes it's not never.
But that's the allopathic model. That's the, you go in, you find the pathology, and you like blast it with lasers.
Yeah,
or you give it
radiation,
a pill
lasers, knife, whatever you just excise it.
Yeah. Which sometimes that's great. Like I don't want, if I break my leg, I want somebody who's like, yeah, we're gonna just put that back together and like stitch you up, and I'm cool. I've got a tumor. Thanks for knowing how to take that out.
How to take it out. Yeah.
But
I mean, there would be deep mystical arguments to be made that you could get the tumor out energetically.
Well, yeah.
Right. I mean, but who's,
Yeah, or even just like understanding like, now we in the so-called West are coming around to the interconnection between that. Like, it doesn't have to get too metaphysical to recognize that the way I think, the way I feel, my sense of connection with something greater than myself can feed directly into the way my body changes, the way my body heals.
Yeah.
That was arbitrary. We've discovered this a long time ago, the whole body-mind
separation. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I do. I wish I could offer that to people. I wish I could give them that, like, oh yeah, we're going to get in and just like blast that sucker out of there.
Yeah. That thing that happened when you were 5 years old and you got bullied on the playground and it's sitting in your stomach and you're just going to breathe into that for 45 minutes and it's going to be gone.
and what I see sitting with me, and I've been there before, this is not to infantilize anyone,
right?
But and I do a lot of inner child work with people, and I've received that myself, and so there's a little part of me that's just like, make it go away,
make it stop,
right?
Yeah.
And so that part of us needs care and attention. That little one inside of me needs that care and attention, but also a grown-up part saying, I know it hurts and we're going to take care of it, and we're going to help relieve some of the pain and comfort you, and I promise I'm here for you.
I'm here, right.
But I'm going to be honest with you, and it's not going to go away right away.
Right away, yeah. And, in my experience, and I'm still learning this and remembering this over and over again, is what you resist persists. So like I'm presently working to expel some parasites from my body, and the advice from Laura, who's been on the show before, and I'm like, I just want them the fuck out of my body, and she's like, well, maybe, maybe love them, right? Maybe stop resisting so hard. And again, this has been a long road, and that was my early. I had pain 6 or 7 years. It was during COVID, and I screamed so hard I broke a blood vessel under my eye.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I was just so angry at this fucking thing in my body. But as I've sort of eased off the gas and not resisted it so much, which meditation is a great teacher for that, because you can watch the stuff arise and you can watch the solidity show up and disappear, and
Yeah, right. And then how do I create the conditions where something can be released?
Right.
And also, I'm going to show up and do my part, but I'm not the only discrete, isolated thing that's acting on
you as
whatever.
You as the therapist, you mean?
Yeah, or me as a person. If I've got, and what other help is going to show up in terms of other people, in terms of, whatever is unseen, the great mysteries and gifts of this wild, magical universe that we inhabit.
Miracles do happen.
Right.
If you've ever, I don't know if you've read the Anita Morjani book, But Dying to Be Me.
No.
She had stage 4 lymphoma, and she was covered with lesions and all kinds of things, and she was terrible. I mean, she was gonna, it was gonna take her, and she went into a coma. It was just over in Singapore, I think, and she went into a coma, and they rushed her to the hospital, and during it, she left her body, and she watched the whole thing. She watched the whole thing happen, and then began to cross over, and was shown the love that she really is, that we all really are, and came back into her body, and within 4 days, everything had remitted.
Wild. Yeah. And
I mean,
these things happen.
They happen
these
more and more.
Things happen.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, like the doctors documented, like the
Right.
cancer went away.
Right. And so the conventional like boxes that Western medicine gets trapped inside of, can just acknowledge these as these, it just goes into the category of these unexplained
Right.
anomaly. It makes me think of, so I also been hugely influenced by Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese and Buddhist monk, and who passed not too long ago, on so many levels. He's really got these elegant ways of talking about the inner child and caring for ourselves. But
And breathing, right?
Well, of course.
I mean, he's all like,
Yeah.
I am breathing in,
and
I am breathing out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I breathe in, I have arrived. I breathe out, I am home.
Yeah.
But I always experienced him as, I mean, everything about Buddhism to me, it is about the here and now. And so there's something very like practical and concrete. It's like I'm breathing in my body. That's the tool. This moment, I don't have to go looking for this location right where I am. I don't have to go looking for. So I always, and so there were his musings in the poetic sense where he would say like the kingdom of God is in the here and now, which a lot of Buddhists don't talk about God.
Right.
But so the reason I bring that up is because I remember him talking about this a nun who had cancer, and he told a story about how she cured her cancer through her practice, and through her mindfulness practice, and it's just so, and but he said it as matter of factly as he talked about anything else, and I'm just like, well, wait a minute, so of course it's not out front that, well, miracles, expect miracles, right? But it's just very matter of fact. Yeah, she had cancer and it was considered untreatable, and she used her mindfulness practice and didn't take, I don't forget the exact details, but like didn't go through all the medications,
Chemo and the radiation. Yeah.
and she healed from that, or or she didn't take that traditional route. So
Yeah, and it's not as if there's a guarantee that miracles will happen, but if you take the mindset that miracles can't happen, they're a whole lot less likely to.
Yeah, right,
Right?
exactly.
Right? Like miracles happen.
Exactly.
Let's get one.
Let's
have one.
And even like, just I'm available. I'm open to a miracle.
Right.
Like, whoo.
Yeah. I mean,
what can happen in that space?
The Grateful Dead song, right?
What is the Grateful Dead song?
I need a miracle.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I also know all I need is a miracle.
Oh, there's that one. Yeah, right. Is that 80s?
All I need is you.
Yeah, that's great. No, they have, I need a miracle every day. There's a Dead song. So.
Yeah.
And the Deadheads, when they're going around, they don't have tickets and they're going around the concerts, walking around. I need a miracle. They're looking for tickets.
Yeah.
I need a miracle, and inevitably somebody's got a ticket for them.
I have a lot of people who connect with the Grateful Dead and friends, and was sort of adjacent for me.
Yeah.
I was so
Well, you were in the rave EDM.
I was a house head,
yeah,
and techno head, and drum and bass. I love
Sure.
And if it was a band, it was like The Cure, The Smiths.
Okay,
I was a new wave guy or whatever, but that energy, that big spirit around the Grateful Dead was such a, it was undeniable. And there was some overlap too. We hung out. There was
Sure.
the hippie element came into our
LSD is a great leveler, right? Like,
and vice versa. Yeah.
yeah.
But I don't know. There's so much more to say, but what else? What else is?
Yeah.
We got to the miracle part.
We
So
id to the
that's
miracle
pretty
part.
awesome. I gotta stop rubbing the couch here. By the way, it's making these weird noises on the mic.
That's all right.
I like it.
It's very soft.
It's my sensory. It meets my sensory needs.
I think the meditation is a great point. I have gone deep in meditation and fought it at the same time. I sat a 10-day Vipassana retreat back in 2016, which was a great preparatory thing for a lot of the psychedelic work that I did, and then have had an on again, off again relationship, but have just recently, just in the last week, I spoke with Alefia's husband. Alefia's been on the podcast, and he's actually a meditation teacher. And I've been drawn to Ramana Maharshi's work, who Ram Dass often talks about. And it was actually sort of, so I put a plug in for meditation, to anybody who may be listening. I mean, when I got started and I wanted to meditate, I remember it being excruciating to sit for 5 minutes.
Right.
Like, I mean, and now I can sit for an hour. And the other day it felt like about 20 minutes. It was magical. So I don't know what, maybe speak to how, the meditation and the breath work are, complementary modalities.
There is it not for everyone. And there are people who aren't drawn to like formal meditation, sitting meditation or mindfulness meditation. But, there's a basic principle of not clinging to something that's coming up in a breath work that's important. And it also, the best like meditation instruction I've gotten around that is you just, you might regard it like a cloud passing by, or name the, there goes a thought, or there goes that thought. And return my attention to whatever the object is, just at a basic level. And so there is that same invitation, and I often talk about that in the breath work, which is, if you find yourself, you're not doing anything wrong when you catch yourself getting really focused on something or lost, and I'm trying to remember what I have to, like the groceries I have to buy after I leave here, and
right. In your head, you're all in your head about some particular.
Exactly. So it is an invitation back into the unfolding process. And if I don't know where to place my attention or my energy, just breathe.
Just breathe.
And so it's meant to be activating and expressive, but it's the same focus point, which is my breath. And there's music going.
The same focus point, right, as meditation, because ultimately most meditation traditions focus on the breath.
Yeah.
Just not rapidly. Just normal breathing.
And the breathing is right. It's the centerpiece of the meditation. So, but it's also there's so many things that make it, accessible to a person who's not interested in meditation, for example, who can be like, oh yeah, well the music, I can groove to the music. And, people look at it on the outside and they say, what, we're going to be doing this for 9 hours, and I'm not going to be looking at my phone, and I'm going to be with strangers. And then they get to like, we're almost done, and they're like, how did that just like flew by? That was like a blink.
Yeah.
And the breathwork session itself can be similar to that. Because there is a lot going on, and I'm sort of pulled forward by this wild experience. So it's not like meditation in that respect, but it is in that I don't get to go. I can't like go hop online or go
make dinner or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's almost it could almost be viewed as like an accelerated meditation, right? If meditation is the act of watching the effects of the breath slowly and normally. Now you're taking it and amplifying, using the breath as an amplifier.
Yeah, and it's also like it's fun. There's a lot of fun parts, and it's evocative.
And the
like
body, what's amazing,
dynamic.
What's always been amazing to me is the body just takes over and start. You think you're going to have to do the breathing,
right,
for the 90 minutes or 2 hours or however long, and you don't. It does it. It just kind of kicks in and does it.
Yeah, well, so we're wired for that somehow. And so we're wired, and like circling back a long way around to this term non-ordinary states. Getting drunk is a non-ordinary state. Doing breath work is a non-ordinary state.
I mean, eating a bag of M&Ms it puts you right.
It is absolutely sugar.
Sugar is a drug,
a huge one. And so I like the term holotropic because it's pretty neutral. Was that Latin holo and tropic, and it just means, but holotropic non-ordinary states means that I'm healing. I'm moving towards a state of integration or wholeness or healing. Lost my train of thought for a second. So that's, I don't know, just making that distinction because I thought of that. We'd use that term.
The term non-ordinary state of consciousness.
Non-ordinary. And that we're wired for that. And that's, that we are now like kind of coming around to that even from a scientific perspective. Like we watch, I'm an EMDR therapist, and so
which for those that don't know is
eye movement desensitization reprocessing.
Yeah.
And so the traditional way of doing it is you just moving the eyes back and forth while processing or focusing on a traumatic memory. And what they discovered is that the brain starts to light up differently, and
with the eyes with the eye movement
exactly
going on. Yeah.
And then I get to heal, activating my brain in a non-intellectual way, just directly through my body. There's this old saying that is I love it, is the neurons that fire together wire together, right?
Okay.
That's like an EMDR saying. And so the same principle, I think it's just a universal principle, is that why people come back and they keep coming to breath work, and something's moving and something's happening, and I can't tell you exactly what the breath work's doing versus my therapy versus my yoga practice, whatever. But
it's doing
something. Works. And all I have to do is like show up here and just be with people, and this kind of feels safe, this is cool, and I'm just going to breathe and listen to this wild music and move my body, and something comes together, and something moves, and some old grief I get to move that or whatever.
Yeah.
But we're wired for that, and we're wired not only for non-ordinary states, but we're wired for healing states.
For healing states, yeah.
We're built for that.
It's usually it usually involves getting out of the way,
right,
of it, and which is what tends to happen when you go into non-ordinary states of consciousness with an intention to heal. Is like there's an inner intelligence. It's the same. It's the same intelligence that puts a cut back together and stitch it.
Exactly.
And you're like, where was the cut? There's no.
Right.
But it's these psychic cuts, these emotional cuts, these energetic cuts, whatever these blockages.
Exactly. And so so here I can see my body heal. I break a bone, I put it back together, and there it is, and my arm, my leg works again.
Yeah.
And then we get stuck in these little belief systems that, I can heal there, I can heal here, but I can't heal
physically. I can heal
that
physically.
Old childhood wound of mine.
Yeah.
Well, who told you can't?
Right. The thing that's got me resenting my dad, my mom, my brother, whatever.
Right. Yeah. And we come by those beliefs honestly.
Absolutely.
But they're beliefs. They're not facts. They're not these fixed.
Yeah, which I also
truths.
like to call programming. I mean, you were programmed by whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever your environment.
Yeah,
that was going on.
I love the relief on a person's face when I say, okay, so what's the belief attached to that experience? And they name it, and I say, yeah, that's like bad software. That's like some malware that you got installed, and we're gonna disentangle that from your system. And
Yeah, and I love that you bring I had forgotten about the EMDR. I mean, I experienced that years ago. It wasn't the key that opened my lock, but
Sure.
I know many people that have had profound positive experiences
Yeah.
with EMDR.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I mean, and the
yeah.
relationship with the therapist matters, and all. Yeah, and
Yeah.
if it's a good fit for you,
Right.
and likewise, breathwork's not for everyone. EMDR is not for everyone.
Yeah.
Coming to see me as a therapist is not for everyone. But yeah, I mean, kind of circling that theme back to breathwork in particular is that it is a place for people who want to explore go into these deep places in a way that, like, you pointed out, I can slow things down. I have more agency in this process than some other thing I might have tried.
Right.
It is a place that people feel like I can go to. Some people, let's say they want to work with a plant medicine like ayahuasca, for example.
Yeah.
But I can't because I have maybe I'm just afraid, or maybe I'm on some meds
Maybe
that
SSRIs that are contraindicated.
yeah, and it's not safe for me to do that, or maybe that's a goal for me when I can come off of those meds or whatever. But I can do breath work. All other basic. There are some rule outs for breath work where a person might not be safe.
Yeah. What are those for those?
But I'll just say that it is a safe place for people who, that was the first point. It's a safe place for people who want to explore, but maybe feel prohibited in some way from doing some other methods. But yeah, so some rule outs are, now this is interesting. So if you go online and you look for like what are counterindications for breath work, for holotropic breath work, TM. Sorry.
Right, trademark. Yeah.
They might say, like, there's these laundry lists that it's like, well, okay, if you have any condition that might need medication, I mean, it's like it's
super
so
conservative,
prohibitive. Yeah, and it's risk aversion, and I understand that. I also think that a lot of people are not screening people. Like, they might, you might fill out a form and then just show up at a workshop. So I'm talking to a person. I do have a extensive background. One thing we didn't talk about, but like, I've worked with psychotic people. I worked with homeless folks for years
at the VA.
I was a VA social worker. I've been a community-based social worker for years. So
you've seen it as bad as it gets.
Yeah, I've been in really, also just in whether it's the community or what the person's going through, what have you.
Yeah.
So I have an ability to, but I need to talk to a person. I'm not going to just take what they write on paper. But if a person has some history, that's not, to me, a rule out that they shouldn't do breath work. If somebody is, if I every once in a blue moon, somebody I talk to on a Zoom is in a really rough state. And I say, I might notice, like, yeah, this seems like a manic episode.
Okay.
It's probably not a good time for you to join. Or somebody had recent heart surgery, or, even there's differences of opinion. Stan Groff says, and when you have all these other facilitators in the room, someone with epilepsy could work through whatever might be going on for them. For me, I'm the solo facilitator.
Yeah.
If somebody has epilepsy, I can't take that risk to manage a seizure
with 19 other people potentially in the room.
Yeah, and that's just because I don't have the resources for that. So there's a lot of, and we go over those in that Zoom call.
So it's not 100% of the people out there that are candidates for it, but it's probably it's safe to say it's a wider variety than they are candidates for psilocybin or ayahuasca or.
Oh yeah, sure.
With the contraindications for those.
Yeah, but it's also a very self-selecting group that winds up seeking these long-form breathworks, and so. I mean, in 10 years, I've screened out, like half a dozen people.
Wow, okay.
10 people, maybe, something like that. And I will say, I know there are breathworks, even in Chicago now, it's starting to take off a little bit, but where they're really not screening, and they'll have like 300 people in a room.
Oh, wow.
150 people in a room. and they just let it rip, and it's like 3 hours, you're in and out, and there's no sitters. There's a handful of facilitators, and that to me is really unsafe. So I there's a lot of care around that, and there's also, for me, keeping it tight, keeping it small, and being careful about talking to people when they come in. Is that, yes, there is a place you can be feeling kind of rickety, you can be going through some grief, you can be struggling with some deep depression,
Right.
and this is a good place.
You'll
for
be
you
held. You'll be well held.
Yeah,
In this
yeah.
container.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I also do, I offer people follow-up after that too. And
Right.
so sometimes people, just as part of the workshop, they want to check in. And occasionally people want to begin therapy too.
Okay.
Or they'll come to a few workshops and do that too. So I do really try to kind of provide support in the workshop and
beyond.
outside
Yeah.
of it.
And
Yep.
and you do a great job of that. So the workshops are monthly, typically the third Saturday is what you're
They're usually the last Saturday
Last
of the
Saturday of the
month,
month, okay.
but in November and December I like to, because everybody's like getting amped up about Thanksgiving and
Yeah.
seeing family, so I always try to do one right before
Okay.
Thanksgiving, so people can kind of move some of that
Yeah.
anxiety.
Yeah.
And then likewise before Christmas can be a nice one. Those can be sometimes, there's not many people at those workshops. But
Holidays.
So that's like November 22nd, and then December 20th, I think.
Are the
Are the
workshops.
Saturdays instead of the last. But yeah,
Okay.
typically it's the last Saturday.
Yeah, and I'll put the info will be in the text below, but it's we are
Oh,
we are
yeah, thank
medicine
you.
dot
.net.
net. We are
Yeah.
medicine dot net is where you can find.
Yeah, so it's funny. I'm like the Google AI bot, what have you. If you type in Breathwork Chicago, I'll pop
You
up
pop
there.
up, okay.
It's my old website, so I've maintained that, and there's like a little, you can hop to the new website. The new one's got, it talks about the events, the breath work, and also the therapy.
Therapy, so if you wanna
it's a
go.
new comprehensive site.
Yeah.
My practices as a solo practice is still in the first year now too. So
Yeah.
that's the new location.
That's the new look, yeah. And you're typically holding them always at the same Vernon Hills or Northbrook location.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do them in Northbrook, and I don't publish the address of
Right.
the place. So I'm just putting that out there in case people are wondering, because I want to do our little registration conversation Zoom thing.
Yeah, so nobody just shows up.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's easy to get to out in Northbrook. It's a lovely little private place, and
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Super amazing, well-appointed place. And people come from all over. I mean, you got people driving up from
Yeah.
down south. And
yeah, it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like a little Midwest hub for breath work.
little breath hub. Yeah. Yeah,
love
it's
it.
beautiful. Well, thanks for coming over, Ben. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thank you, Matt. This has been a blast.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed it.
I love it. I love to get this information out there so more people just know that there are a lot of different ways to holotrope. to move to wholeness. I'm just making up words over here. Yeah. Well, we were talking about hip hop before, so I thought, I'd just kind of throw that down.
Oh yeah, that's nice. You got to put it in your next battle rap.
Yeah, no, right. Oh, I'm quite a battle rapper, boy. Oh, thanks, Ben, and thanks everybody for listening. Peace out.
Yeah, peace.